clapping cheeks.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Colonel Cheeks, here to talk about all the fighting game goodness we're getting. DNF Duel, for example, which will be out by the time I post this video. Then we get a bunch of fighting game news at EVO, and whatever NRS is doing at the Game Awards at the end of the year. Today's video, we'll be talking about MultiVersus, and my top 5 picks of who I think should make it in the game at some point in time. Now, without further ado, let's get to the video. Coming in at number 5 would be Aku. And the reason you're probably wondering, oh, Aku? Well, the reason why I say Aku, because we all know Samurai Jack's gonna be in the game. They didn't say anything about it, and I haven't looked at any leaks, but it's like Samurai Jack's like way too popular to not be. We know he's gonna be in the game. Come on now, we know Samurai Jack's gonna be in the game. That's like you put Batman in, and you think Joker's not gonna be in the game. Come on now, we know he's gonna be in the game. But anyway, the reason why I would say Aku is because, like, you know, he's the villain for Samurai Jack. Like, he's kind of like Samurai Jack's reason for all that stuff happening to him in the first place. But gameplay wise, I feel like Aku, outside of just having him in the game, he would be a giant character, like kind of like an Iron Giant. Granted, we don't know exactly how mobile or flexible giant characters are gonna play, at least not yet anyway. But I just figured he would be a unique to that archetype, just because of he would be a very big character, but the more he takes damage, the more he essentially gets smaller, so and easier to KO. Then again, I don't know how easy or hard it's gonna be to KO Iron Giant or just characters that that end up being that big in general. But I would assume to make it fair, it probably wouldn't be the easiest to. But in Aku's instance, it would be like he's at his best when he's giant, but then when he's small, he's easier to KO, and he essentially can't like he won't be as effective. Like he hits harder when he's bigger. When he's smaller, yeah, he's more agile. He can move around, but he doesn't hit as hard. And then the more he takes damage, the faster he gets. The more he becomes a regular sped up character. Which in my mind, I feel like would be pretty cool. But that would be like my special gimmick or passive for him. Now, obviously, he'd be like, you know, shapeshift, teleport. But when he's bigger, he's not as mobile, but he could still like do those things, except it'd just be a little bit more wonkier because he's huge. And then the smaller he gets, the more frantic he is as a character, because, you know, he's smaller and the moves change prior. I feel like that'd be a pretty unique thing. As far as like bouncy goes, he's either going to be just a for fun character, or he'd be like a really high risk, high reward kind of character, which kind of seems like his whole thing to begin with, which I feel like fits the character really well. Okay, coming in at number 4, we're gonna have the iconic trio, at least on Cartoon Network anyway, Ed, Ned, and Eddie. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to really be said about why they should be in the game. I feel like they'd definitely be a unique inclusion to the game, considering how they could all just play as one. Like, it would be cool to have like Eddie be like the main body, and then, like, you know, Ed would do stuff, and then Double D would, I don't know, invent like a thing for them to ride on as like a recovery tool or something like that, and Ed would just be like the muscle. Or it'd be like if they were like, you know, Eddie goes to swing at Ed and he hits Ed into something. It'd basically be like Tom and Jerry's gameplay, but cranked up to 11, because it'd just be 2 other people. But obviously it'd be, still keep it unique. Don't make it where, like, you know, Ed, you could put Ed on a corner and he's just a wall. I mean, that's not a bad idea actually, but I don't want them to like just copy and paste Tom and Jerry, but just basically have it where it's just 2 big Jerrys and Ed's just controlling them, or Eddie's just controlling them, or something like that. But I feel like that would be pretty cool. They have like a move where they throw jawbreakers and stuff like that, and Double D can invent stuff and like has like a little cart bike thing he can ride on or something like that. I feel like that'd be pretty dope. There's a lot they can do with the character as far as like stuff they do, because all they do is do wacky over the top stuff, invent stuff, you know, for scams and whatnot in the show. And they also have a gang of costumes they can use too, because they, depending on how they're dressed up and whatever episode's going on, they literally get, they really wore a whole plethora of things, whether it's just the fad freaky or the like the Boy Scouts or the whatever the scouts were called in the show. Stuff like that. There's a lot they can do with Ed, Edd n Eddy, but I feel like they'd be really unique if they were like a triple character archetype, which I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being a thing too. If like if they eventually add like Animaniacs or Powerpuff Girls to the game, that would be a pretty unique archetype. Have like a triple character archetype where it's just 3 characters that act as one and they just do a bunch of stuff. But yeah, Ed, Edd n Eddy is coming in at number 4 for me. Okay, coming in at number 3, we're gonna have Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Yes, it. My personal favorite. That really hurts my throat doing that. But yes, that is it is I mean, the story, the original story of it isn't all that like scary, to be honest. You would have to not know anything about anything and be terrified of original It. He's just a clown with pigeon hands, or pigeon feet as hands. He's not really scary. But then the reimagining of It, which still, to me, it still isn't that scary, but he's cool looking. Like, I'm sure like a kid somewhere got scared of him. Like, I don't know. I actually am very into horror, so this is kind of like a personal thing. They probably there's so much they could do with him. Like, I figured he would have like a special passive, kind of like similar to Steven, where like if he hits you with a certain ability a couple of times, you would literally put you in a state to where you can't be saved, or you can't move, you can't control your character, and essentially you would slowly float up and die unless your teammate came and saved you or hit the balloons or something, because I would essentially put like balloons tied around you as like an indicator, like, hey, you're stuck in this state, and you would essentially kind of like just float off into space. Like, once you're in that space, like, the enemy can't hit you either. The only person that can't hit you is your ally. So basically the game plan would be to, if you're in duos, to essentially stop your ally, or stop the enemy from saving his own ally, basically. Which I feel like that's a good gimmick. And like, again, similar with like what I was saying with Aku, he kind of just turns into stuff. He can just turn into things, and essentially it'd be kind of cool, because I don't know what all the characters in MultiVersus they plan on adding, or what their fears would be, but his whole thing is turning into things that people are scared of. So essentially, if he turns into people's fears, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be a lot to put into that character, if he like turned into unique things depending on who he's going against, or just like put little Easter eggs into the game where like, oh yeah, you know, if they add Ed, Edd n Eddy to the game, Pennywise would like have a move where he turns into the Caker sisters, regardless if he's going against them or not. Like, he would do a move where like he would do like a swing with like a crowbar and have one of the Caker sisters as a face or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. It'd be like a weird like face stealer thing of from like Arya Stark, but like characters that probably aren't going to be playable, but people's fears, you know, stuff like that. And basically like, the Pennywise's normals would be like limbs turning into things. Like, you would have like a weird praying mantis arm swing, and, you know, spider leg climb, balloon, hold balloon to go up. There's a lot of things they can do with that character. Plus, I feel like the game will eventually start adding horror characters to the game too. They're gonna start adding all types of characters to the game. So I just figured, you know, why not? Pennywise is cool. You can be very versatile with the character. It wouldn't be hard to make a moveset for, in my opinion. If anyone from Player for Escapes happened to see this, feel free to, you know, take the idea of, you know, having a Steven passive, but only your teammates can save you type thing. That'd be kind of cool. You would have to probably balance that in like 1v1s, or make it where you can break free in 1v1s or something. You would have to change it to some degree in 1v1, or you just have to rework the passive in general. But in all, yeah, that's my number 3 for my wish list so far. Okay, coming in at number 2 is actually one of my favorite DC characters of all time. It's a personal favorite, so the chances are probably slim. He's not going to get into the game anytime soon, but if he does, this will be an insta main for me. Red Hood from the Bat family. Basically, another Bat character, but somebody that I personally don't see too much representation of, at least when it comes to like the Bat family, which is crazy because he's supposed to be like, he's like one of the most popular characters in the Bat family, out next to Batman, of course. But yet he usually never gets too much representation, which is kind of wild to me. But I mean, to each his own, I guess. I guess the industry doesn't like Red Hood, but everybody else seems to, which is kind of weird. It's like, oh, but anyway, I feel like he'd be really cool. Obviously, just violent Batman with guns, but he's just cool. He's basically just Punisher Batman. Like I just thought that was pretty dope. He there's all the teachings of Batman, but he does kill. He will kill. So you basically just basically his moveset would basically just be him using like gun kata, pistols, had little mines he could throw out. He'd basically be like a trap zoning kind of character, or he'd kind of be like a jack of all trades. I would assume he would be like in the assassin class of characters. I would assume he would. If not, he'd be like a weird hybrid bruiser. Like he could zone. He's got setups, and he could essentially KO. Like I don't know. There's so much they could do for this character. I feel like it'd be kind of crazy. He basically would just be, I guess, Batman and Harley Quinn, because Harley Quinn already has like guns, and they're both those characters are acrobatic. Last time I checked, unless they really changed up how Batman or Harley Quinn plays. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Yeah, he would be a very versatile character, and despite that, he would definitely play way different than Batman or Harley Quinn. But he would essentially just be Batman with guns, but he would have like trip mines and guns, close combat, but also far range. Zoning would probably be basically Batman with better zoning, but just the aesthetic of the character would be really cool for me. Just seeing that character would be amazing. Even if they dropped him and he was bad, I'd still play him. I don't care. I'm just that big of a Red Hood fan. But yeah, number 2 is Red Hood for me. Now, before I get to the number 1 pick, which depending on if I have him in the thumbnail and you haven't seen him yet, you probably already know who it's going to be. But we get to the honorable mentions. And for the honorable mentions, for the first one, it's going to be Kids Next Door. They wouldn't operate as a whole unit. They would eventually be like their own character, but like they all do very similar things outside, I guess, number 1, unless it would just be like a super unique thing, and you'd only play as number 1, but number 1's abilities are basically calling each number to do a certain thing, which ultimately that'd be pretty cool, but I just don't know how that would work. And then again, Kids Next Door, great show, great characters. I just don't know how it would work. It'd be pretty cool to see if they had like a multi-character. Like it would be multi-character, but not really multi-character. Like you'd only see number 1 on screen, but then like he'd do like a call or a signal or just a general. His abilities are literally the numbers. Like he would do something, number 2 would come in, do something, and then it'd be on cooldown. He would do the ability. Number 3 would come in like a little bunny mech or something, do an ability. Number 4 would come in with like the spank gun or whatever the hell that thing's called. Number 5 would come in and have like her little she'd do like a candy cane sword sweep or something. Stuff like that. Like, and then obviously number 1 would have like these little gumball pistols with his rocket boots and his own little things unique to just him, stuff like that. I just think that would be pretty cool if they had it like that. Or each character would just take up a slot. Like you just have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. They would all just be their individual characters. But yeah, they are the first of the honorable mentions. The next of the honorable mentions is Darkseid from Superman's villain. Well, he's kind of everybody. He's kind of like all of DC's villain, but he's mainly Superman's villain. And I feel like in every game where there's some kind of fighting and Batman's in it, there's always just a bunch of Batman characters. I get it. They're popular. They're really fleshed out. They got backstories, you know, etc., etc. We get it. We love them. But I feel like Superman's got some pretty fleshed out villains and bad guys and stuff too. I mean, granted, I don't want to see Lex Luthor in the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he made it in either. But I feel like if you were to choose a character, I feel like Darkseid would be pretty cool. And on top of that, he has an interaction with all the DC characters. I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer, to be honest. But then again, it's not me. It's you know, it is what it is. I don't decide who gets into the game, but you know, yeah, Darkseid. I feel like he'd be like a zoning bruiser or a tank, kind of like Superman, but way more emphasis, have way better eye lasers and way more emphasis on zoning. That pretty much be it. His arms would permanently be behind his back. He would just do Omega beams. And he would have like a, you know, like a command. He basically would just be like a different version of Superman, but probably have some things better. Like obviously Darkseid doesn't, he can fly, but he doesn't really do a lot of flying. So he's not going to have like a fly move, kind of like Superman, that grab. He would probably just have like a teleport or something, if anything, because he can do that too. He'd probably just boom to back to safety instead of just a slow fly or something like that. Omega beam, it wouldn't be a homing beam that just hits. I mean, maybe it could, because Velma has the goddamn Instagram tweets, the Twitter tweets that track and hit you. I wouldn't be surprised if he had like a Omega beam. It would be like on an ammo system. He'd just have an Omega beam that essentially would follow you, and he could do it up to 3 times or something, and then he's got to wait, it's got to cool down or something like that. That would be the only way you can like kind of tame that, to be honest. Other than that would be fucking hella broken. But other than that, yeah, that would, Darkseid would be another one. He'd just be a tanky eye laser guy. He'd basically just be just how, like, I guess fucking Red Hood would be I guess Batman with guns. Darkseid would basically just be Superman, but way more eye lasers and a teleport. Granted, I'm sure they would make it a lot more unique, but those would be the honorable mentions for that as well. And the final honorable mention, which is, this one's kind of like out there, and this is like way down the line, if like you know, if like, I guess like, because if you don't know, the devs that worked on that are working on MultiVersus now are all ex-Riot Game employees, and if you know what I mean by that, you already know where I'm going with this. I think the honorable mention here is just a League of Legends character, and the only one I can really think of that would kind of fit the game personally, that would have like, because everybody has some kind of like support ability of some sort, would be like Lee Sin. He's not like my favorite, but like going down the list of characters that just like, if you got a pure support character or stuff like that, it'd be pretty cool. Plus, you know, you got Project L coming out at some point in time. We're gonna get more news on that. I feel like, depending on when this would happen, it would be literally the perfect crossover if you had a League of Legends character appear in a platform fighter, and then that character that's in a platform fighter appears in the actual fighting game, like, or the actual 2D fighting game, Project L. It would be pretty dope. It'd be a good thing. Depending on how good this game does, it would be very nice. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. And now for my number one pick, this might be kind of a shocker, is actually Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah. Believe it or not, I have a personal attachment to this character, simply because I kind of grew up on it. This show was literally like my childhood. I can't not knock it. Like, everybody else is watching, like, you know, all these other shows and stuff like that. I like always watch like Courage the Cowardly Dog, and I feel like he'd just be a really cool character. I feel like he would add like a unique passive buff as like a support thing, like him being scared all the time. He would his passive would be like frantic, and what he would do is like I guess because he's so scared, his adrenaline would be going. He'd be like, he would make the characters, his teammates, move faster for a certain amount of time, or until Courage gets KO'd. That would be like his passive. And Courage essentially, what is it like? He always like when he's explaining things to like Muriel or Eustace, he would like turn into things, and I feel like they could easily make that like a gimmick where like he turns into something getting hit, and he would indirectly hit people describing things or something like that, or he would actually do damage getting scared. Like his whole thing was like him yelling and screaming, and like that's it. Like, but there's so much. It's so little, but it's so much. You know what I mean? Like he can literally just be yelling, and like that can essentially, I don't know, that could be like a stun state. I don't know if anyone has a stun state in the game yet. I didn't play everybody in the alpha, but it would just be pretty cool. He would be like a unique support character. He would definitely be a support character for sure. He wouldn't be a bruiser. He wouldn't be an assassin. That'd be kind of wild they made him an assassin. He wouldn't be a mage. He wouldn't be a mage. He doesn't really like throw things. He just turns into things to describe things to Muriel. Even though he can talk, he doesn't talk. And decides to turn into like play charades and turns into stuff. Like, which I thought was kind of funny. That was never explained in the show, but I thought that was hilarious. But it was just one of those things where like he can speak English, he can talk, he walks on 2 legs. But like every time he goes to try to explain something to Muriel, he doesn't say anything. It's like this hey, there's somebody in the house, get the gun, help. But yeah, no, I love the show. It held a special place in my heart. Oh man. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If there's any characters I may have missed, comment who you want to see in the game below. Until then, you guys have a blessed day.